Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today's Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Stealthy Gunner X, who says the British Trench Warfare Riflemen will be using the Lee-Enfield infantry variant, that's the SMLE, with the MLE 1903 for our sidearm, smoke grenades to help conceal our position or maybe block the enemy from seeing, a flare gun for spotting enemies and catching them on fire, and then a scout periscope for spotting guys and highlighting them for my whole team. Then we'll be using a trench knife for melee. The comment then goes to say, you are a British soldier that's been freshly deployed to the Western Front after being stationed in Belgium. Use your bolt-action rifle to pick off enemies at a distance and spam your cannon of a sidearm to handle close quarters. Also try to play on the Western Front based maps. I hope you enjoy this Loadout level cap. Now I've said it before and I'll say it again, the SMLE is my favorite sniper rifle in this game. Any configuration of it is very good. I prefer the marksman variant so that I can have a little bit more accuracy, but even the iron sight variant was allowing me to just really tear people up. I find it also kind of affects my gameplay a little bit. I tend to be a bit more aggressive when I have the marksman variant just because I feel more empowered, more accurate in general, and I tend to play more passively when I have the iron sights variant. And I tend to do pretty well when I play passively in this game. I don't always have quite as much fun, but just for KDR and how effective I'm being at just absolutely decimating the enemy team, it's pretty good overall. Sure, I'm not quite as accurate with this variant of the weapon, but it does force me to be a little bit more conservative, stay in hiding, and not expose myself as much as I would with the marksman variant, where I feel like my added accuracy will allow me to win most firefights, when it does sometimes, but it also often gets me killed. So the more cautious mindset that I have when playing with an iron sight rifle is generally beneficial to me, and I don't know if I would have done better in this particular game that I'm playing right now if I had the marksman variant or not, but suffice to say I did incredibly well with this loadout. Now one thing that does throw me off a little bit about the iron sights is every now and then if there's a lot of screen shake or I quickly pop my weapon up in front of me and aim down sights, I will sometimes aim at the wrong prong on the rifle. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then I get a little bit distracted by it, and it's obvious which is the right prong to aim at, but just sometimes when there's just a giant explosion or screen shake or whatever, I will get distracted and aim at the wrong prong. And I would use the alternative iron sights to this one, which should be less confusing, but I think the default ones just give me a clearer sight picture. Now luckily this time around I am playing for the British Forces in operations, which lines up with the loadout theme. However, playing defensively with smoke grenades doesn't always make that much sense. I do end up throwing it at certain areas where I feel like the enemies just got better range potential or better medium range potential, and throwing that smoke grenade there forces them through like one by one to try and explore, and it gives me a better chance of eliminating the enemies. But ultimately the smoke grenade is best when used on the offensive side, as it allows you to push up and get closer. I wouldn't be using the smoke grenade with the scout class necessarily, probably more likely with the assault class or somebody who can take advantage of closing the distance. Now one of the big benefits of having a iron sight rifle is that you've got no scope glint, which makes it nice for taking your time and aiming at targets further away. People won't think that there's a sniper aiming at them without the scope glint out there, so it allows you to be a little bit more stealthy, and there's nothing more satisfying than hitting a perfectly aimed headshot with an iron sight rifle at extreme distance. And just in case I forget to mention this or you're unaware of the sweet spot mechanic, the SMLE in Battlefield 1 has, in my opinion, one of the better sweet spots in the game, aside from maybe the Martini Henry, but that comes with its own set of negatives. The SMLE, because of its sweet spot, is actually pretty darn good as an iron sight rifle. At the sweet spot range, you can basically hit your targets fairly regularly with the iron sights and do a considerable amount of damage. So this is just a great and fun weapon to use. Iron sights, marksman sight, whatever you got, it's just such a good bolt action. In my opinion, the best bolt action in the game, and I can never get enough of this rifle. And for those of you unaware, the sweet spot starts at 40 meters away and ends at 75 meters, giving you a solid 35 meters to one-shot body shot kill your opponent. And if you're not sure what the range is, you can always use your spotting scope to try and spot someone and figure out how far away your enemy is, or line them up with a flag that's nearby to give you an idea of just how far away you are from your enemies. It's not necessarily always important to make sure you're at that sweet spot, but if you realize you are at the sweet spot, you can start aiming for the body and expecting to get those one-shot kills. Now, as for the MLE, as a sidearm, you'll see me get a few kills this video. You probably already have seen me get several kills with the MLE 1903. It's a good sidearm, perfectly adequate. I still think the 1911 is a little bit better, but if you're trying to meet a specific loadout for thematic purposes, then the MLE is a perfectly fine sidearm, and it's decent in general. It's got a slightly higher rate of fire than, say, the 1911, but it also does a little bit less damage per shot. So if you're looking for the fastest time to kill, this certainly isn't the right pistol. In fact, it doesn't do anything necessarily amazingly, but it's just all around a generally decent all-purpose pistol. Now, if you caught my death a few clips back, you'll notice that I was shooting at a support class who totally had me suppressed there. I fired two perfectly aimed shots right at his head, and they both missed. Getting used to the suppression mechanic in Battlefield can be a little bit trying, and if you're not really aware of what's going on, that can be extremely annoying. If you see a little bit of fuzzing or blackening at the edges of your screen, that means you're suppressed and that your shots are not going to be as accurate, in which case you should generally hide, run behind some cover, or just switch to some sort of close quarter weapons to engage anybody who's up close and personal. Do not try and take long range accurate shots while you're suppressed. You'll usually miss those shots. So it's a cool mechanic for the support class. They can make other classes less accurate, allowing them to survive longer. And if you're a sniper class and you're totally unaware of the suppression mechanic, well, now you know. Watch out for the edges of your screen. If bullets are flying past you, generally speaking, it means you're suppressed. So you want to take that into consideration. It's why being stealth with the scout class is so important. You don't want to be exchanging bullets in a firefight. You want to be the only one firing, and once your opponent starts shooting back at you, then things are going to start getting much trickier. Now, at this point in the game of operations, the enemy team is down to their last wave. We've got them at about 115 tickets, and the smoke itself is, or rather the fog itself, is really working out in my favor, just based on where I am specifically. The silhouettes of my enemies really are appearing through the fog, and I'm able to capitalize on that, get some kills, and still maintain my stealthiness. It can be an absolutely excellent situation to be in as a sniper. You would think that the fog would kind of reduce the ranges and make everything better for close quarter classes, but it actually ended up being absolutely perfect for me in this situation. Granted, I did get a little bit more medium range with this loadout, but because of the stealthy approach and my flanking tactics, it worked out just fine. Managed to even nab a collateral on this flank here, which was pretty cool, and just pretty much clear up this whole offensive push from the enemy team. Obviously with a lot of help from my teammates distracting them straight in front, and as the fog lifts, their flank is pretty much gone. Now, I didn't end up using the spotting scope a lot. I did end up using my melee weapon to take out a sentry here, but I just don't care for the spotting scope that much. I know some people really like it, and it can certainly be useful in very specific situations, but I only whipped it out a few times to spot some guys, and while I was doing that, I was thinking, you know, why am I not just shooting these guys right now? I've got an excellent long-range weapon. I should just shoot them. But I suppose if you were working directly with some teammates who are mortaring or even sniping, focusing on spotting scopes could be pretty useful, especially for coordinating with air targets. So if you know you have teammates that are looking for those spots, then it could be a bit more useful. Then again, I'm very good with the Q button and just spotting enemies as is. I'm always spotting my targets even when I'm shooting at them. Something that I think more people should really do, because often when I'm playing, I'm like, why are the only guys spotted the ones that I'm actually spotting? But you'll notice that when I'm actually playing, that almost always when I'm shooting at an enemy, a red target appears above their head if it's not already above their head, because if they're not spotted, then I'm going to spot them as I am shooting them, and I can't recommend that enough. Anyway, this loadout was incredibly effective. Managed to get something like 94 kills playing defensively here on operations. Just totally totally shutting down the offensive team. I highly recommend it. If you like sniping, definitely try out the iron sights for a more authentic feel. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave your comments down below for next week's episode. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.